Okay, so we started our discussion on list in the last class. So as we have discussed, list is a compound data type. Earlier, we discussed about simple data types, that is integer, float, complex, which are all numerical literals. Together with, we completed our discussion on string, which is again a sequence type data type. And there is a similarity between strings and lists that we started our discussion on in the last class. So there are basically four compound data types in Python: list, tuple, set, and dictionary. We started with list. Now, one thing I must say here is that those of you who already had written some programs in some programming languages like C, C++, or Java, or any other, you must have written some code using arrays. In Python, there is no thing, nothing called array, but the corresponding, the equivalent thing in Python is called list. So you can say lists and arrays are kind of equivalent. Okay, so the list of operation, the operations associated with lists are, as we have discussed: create a list, insert items in a created list, access items in an existing list, change items in an existing list, and delete items from a list. Okay, and we started the discussion with creating a list and inserting items in a list. We stated that to create a list, we need to provide the square bracket or third bracket. And inside that, we need to provide the items that we want to insert inside the list. Note that this is an empty list. While writing some codes, we have encountered this. This is a list containing integers. This is a list containing strings. This is a list containing mixed type of data type, mixed type of items. This is a string, this is an integer, this is a floating value, this is again a string. And this is a nested list. That is where the items inside a list is also a list. So as you can see, the outer third bracket is actually indicating that all marks will be a list. And inside there are two items separated by this comma. And these two items in this case are actually lists. To insert items in a list, we have discussed about two functions: insert function and append function. Insert function takes two parameters: the position at which you want to enter or insert the item and the element that you want to insert. And the corresponding, you want to kind of append an item at the end of an existing list, we can use the append function. As we can, simply guess, append function in this regard will be taking only one parameter, because the second parameter, like in insert, the position is actually the last position, which is implicitly taken care of by the append function. So the append function will be appending or adding an item, in this case this element, at the end of an existing list. We also discussed about how to initialize a list using the range function. We discussed about argument unpacking operator, which is this star. And we looked at one example with the use of another function called extend, which can actually extend a list using, which can extend an existing list with a range value. In this case, as we have discussed, it will be extending this LST, which should be an existing list, with the numbers from 0 to 9, which is basically being returned by this range 10 function call. Now, while declaring one list, we have seen that there is a thing called nested list, right? Now, what is a nested list? Now, again, while declaring about list or defining a list, we stated that an item, the list items can be anything. It can be an integer, it can be a numerical, any kind of numerical values, it can be strings. and it can be a list as well. So a nested list is basically a list that contains another list or lists as items. That those are called nested lists. So to create a nested list, it's simply you need to put, I mean, this is the outer third bracket is indicating that L will be a nested, will be a list. But here, as you can see, there are items which are list as well. So this is an item which is a list B, up from here to here. So L is containing basically 4 items. The first item is a string A. The second item is a list, this. Third item is again a string H, and fourth item is again another string H. So there are 4 items in this list L, where the second item is again a list. So another very useful function associated with list is called len. Now this len function is not actually a function that is kind of a list function, but this len function can be used on other compound data types like dictionary, set, tuples as well. So that's why I am saying that this len function is associated with this list, but it is not actually a list function. A list function, what I am specifying is functions such as this insert or append. These are some functions which are list functions, but this len is actually a function which is which can be applied on any compound data type. The len function will be returning the length of a list. So let's look at an example. Let's just look at this example that we have already seen, given in this presentation. So I'm declaring one month, which is a list. As you can see, it is enclosed by this third bracket start and third bracket ending. It is containing a set of values which are all strings. Now, before printing the length, if I just print that, you can see it is basically a list. To make sure that it is a list, we can of course use the type function, which will be returning class list. Now, let us consider that we have a list like this containing millions and billions of values. In this case, we can kind of check, or we can kind of calculate how many items are there by just going through the list on our own. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 items in this list. But what if this list containing more than, say millions of? So in those cases, it's not possible for us to go one by one and calculate how many items are there. That's why this len function is there. So to check how many items are there in a list, there is a function, this len, which will be returning the length of the list, or the number of items stored in the list. This len function will be useful for many other places, at many other places while writing some other programs. Now again, as I have said, len function is not actually a function associated, not actually a list function. It is a function for all the compound data types. That is, this len function, if we provide a dictionary, it will be returning the number of items inside a dictionary. If we provide this parameter as the set, as one set, it will be returning the number of items in that set. Or if I provide a tuple, again, same function will be returning the number of items in that tuple. Now, what is this set? What is this dictionary or tuple? We will be discussing later. Those were the other 3 compound data types together with list, which are basic foundation, basic feature of Python, which is not actually present in other languages. Okay, So we have created a list, we have inserted items in a list. Now let's try to access the items in an existing list. How to do that? Let's say we have a list like this, vowels, containing A, E, I, O, U, all in caps. Now there are two ways of accessing a list. One is using the index number and another is using the negative index number. Now, with the knowledge of strings, you might have, recognizing one similarity, because while accessing a string character by character, we can also use this index number and the negative index number to actually access them. Okay. So let's just look at let's just try to do that using here. So let's, for example, if we want to, so let's just print the months again. So the months is containing this. Now, if I want to access the items, the individual items, we can use the index number. So this January is actually present in the 0th index. This February is present in the 1th index, and so on up to this December, which is placed in the 11th index. So if I want to access, say, the 4th item, we need to provide the index value 3. Months with 3, it will be returning the 4th value or 4th item in this list. Okay. Now one another thing. So as we have discussed, the len function returns the number of items in a list or number of values stored in a list. Now, what if I want to access the last item? Using len, can someone tell you how to do that? I mean, one way of doing that is using the negative index value, like the last item. In this case, there are 5 items, so the last item will be in 4th position, or the index value 4, or using the negative index value -1. So if I want to, in this case, if I want to access the last item, I just need to provide -1, which will be basically the last value, right? But can someone say how to use the len function item? Is there a way to do that?
Month -1.
Correct. Absolutely correct. So what I need to do is months, and then in third bracket, len of month. So len of month is basically 12, right? But now if I want to access this, it will be an error because there is no item in the 12th location, right? We need to provide a -1 here. It will be basically returning the last item. So now if I compare this with this, this is essentially the negative indexing is essentially length of that compound or sequence data type -1, or minus the value that we are actually doing. So this is equivalent to, in general, if I use the negative indexing, so if I in general use -n, so this is equivalent to writing basically months or the sequence data type, let's say seq, the sequence data type, the length of the sequence data type minus the value of n. So this is basically equivalent to seq -1. Got it? So this is basically a way of using this len function to access the items in a list. Now, again, one thing to remember is these index values are zero based. Zero based means the first item will be starting from the 0th index. So this is again another thing that is similar to other languages like C, C++, Java, or other similar languages. So and similarly, while using the negative indexing, it will be basically -1 up to minus of the number of items in this list. So if there are, say, m item, so it will be, if we use the negative indexing, it will be from -m up to -1. In this case, there are 5 items, so that's why -5 to -1. And the index is 0 to 4. So if there are m items, the index will be 0 to m-1. And the negative will be -m to -1. So some examples which we have already seen is here. In this case, if we use this same list AEIOU containing 5 items, so this will be providing us with the vowel 0, or the name of the sequence data type in 0 will be returning the first value, 2 will be returning the third value, 4 will be returning the last value. -1 will be returning the last value similarly as we have seen, and -5 will be returning the first value. Now let's look at the nested list thing. Now, if we use this, say this nested list, again, as you can see, this is a nested list, all marks containing 2 items, and these individual items are lists as well, and these individual items containing 3 values. Now to use or to access the corresponding, so the access the individual items, what we need to do is we need to provide with 2 index operators, or the 2 indexing values. The first will be indicating which item in the first list you are referring to. So as you can see, in this case, it is the 0th index, right? And this is the first index. So basically, if I have a nested list, let's declare one nested list here. So let's just, for the time being, let's copy this. Okay. Okay. So here, if I print L, as you can see, it is printing list, right? Now, if I print the individual items, what I need to do, as we have said here, I need to provide the index value in this third bracket. So here in this list, together with the list, if I print the length, you'll be seeing 4, because there are 4 items. The first item is this, second item is basically this, which is a list, third item is this, fourth item is this. Now, if I want to access the individual items, what I can do is I can use this third bracket. It will be returning small a, right? If I provide 2, it will be returning small g. If I give 1, it will be returning this list, right? Now, let's keep it this way, and together with that, print the type of L0. So it will be returning a, because the 0th index is containing a, and it is, the type of this is string. Okay. Now, what if I want to do the same thing with the first item, or the second item? Now you can see it is returning this thing, which is basically a list. Now, what if I want to access the individual items inside them? What if I want to access this? So if I want to access this BB, which is the first item in this list, can someone say, well, how can I do that? It's pretty simple.
So again, we have to write L1 and 0 here.
Correct. Absolutely correct. So basically another way, if I actually want to access them, say if I declare say another list, say small l, and if I do this, so basically this will be basically this, and then we can apply l, that is small l, this one, and then 0. So this is, sorry, so this is basically same as, I mean, this and this is basically same as doing directly this. Similarly, if I want to access the 1th element or the second element, which is again a list. Now, if I want to access this, what I need to do is I need to provide another third bracket here. And this is the second item. That's why I want to provide 1 here. So it will be returning DDD, this item. So in this case, I mean, in this way, we can access the individual items in a nested list. And we'll be writing some codes regarding that as well. There is another way of accessing the individual items in the nested list using a for loop. So, I mean, I will request you to try that at your end. So using the for loop, we can also access them as well. So using the for loop, how can we access the individual items in a simple list? So let's consider we have a list containing set of name of foods. The name of the list is foods containing 3 values. So basically, in order to access them, we can use this membership operator here as well. So remember, this kind of notation we have already used while writing one range, right? So in order to print from 0 to 9, using a for loop, what we have written is for I in range 10, then colon, then print I. Here similarly for food, in foods, note that this is the list. This foods is basically the list, and this is called a placeholder. Now this placeholder is basically considered, in this case, this is the sequence, which is a list. From this sequence, we are considering individual items in this food, and I am printing them. Again, let's just copy it and let's just try it out. As you can see, this is basically the placeholder. This foods is basically a list, which is a sequence here. And this sequence, from this sequence, we are taking individual items one after the other. Now, again, there is a similarity here. Like if I declare, say, a string like this, and if we use, say, C in S, C, as we have seen, it was considering the individual characters in this string. Similarly, in here, we are instead of considering a string, we are considering a list. And the application of this for loop is exactly the same that we have used here while accessing the individual items or individual characters in a string, right? Here C was the placeholder. We can use anything other than, anything other than S here as well. Similarly, we can name it. We can name this placeholder with anything except foods, right? So we can also declare, say, F for F in foods, and we need to use here. So it will be same, right? So another way of using the for loop is using, okay, so another way of using the looping is using this len function. So let's first use this, and then I'll be discussing another thing, another way of accessing them using for loop. So the way of applying while loop in this case is I'm declaring one index parameter I, initializing it with 0. So basically food 0 is basically pizza, foods 1 is basically pasta, foods 2 is basically spaghetti. So pizza, pasta, and spaghetti, we can actually access them using foods 0, foods 1, and foods 2, right? So here what I am doing is I'm declaring one index parameter, initializing it with 0. I'm checking whether I is less than length of foods or not. Note that length of foods is basically 3. So if I is, that is 0, initialized with 0, is less than 3, I'll be printing foods I. Now, can someone say what's wrong with this code snippet? Is there anything wrong with this code snippet?
Sir, it will be len of foods minus 1. Then it will print all. I mean,
Len of foods, I mean, here you are saying minus 1.
minus 1.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Len of foods is 3, right?
Yes.
So less than 3 means up to 2.
No, 0, 1.
Sir, I think it is infinite loop.
Correct.
It
It is actually infinite loop. If I execute this, you can see I love pizza is getting printed infinitely, as you can see here with the star. It is being printed infinite times. So the thing that we have missed is I missed putting one. I mean, I actually missed incrementing the I parameter here. So what I need to do is I need to make I plus equals to 1 or I equals to I plus 1. Then it will be printing the same way. Now coming back to your answer, if I do that, so first I will be 0. So now this thing is basically 2, right? Length of foods is 3 minus 1. So basically this thing is 2. So 0 is less than 2, correct? So it will be printing foods 0, which is pizza. Now I is incremented to 1. 1 is less than 2. I love foods 1, which is pasta. So I love pasta will be printed. Then the value of I will be 2. Now 2 is less than 2? No. So in that case, the last item or this I love spaghetti will not be getting printed. If I execute this, it will be giving this, only this. Got it? I mean, why we should not be having this minus 1 here? I hope it's clear now. Okay. Now,
Yes.
as I said, another way of using this for loop is by using this length function. What I can do is for I in, so what I'll be doing is range length of foods. As you can see, if I just print the value of I, it will be 0, 1, 2, right? Now what I need to do is I just need to similarly, I mean similar to this, I just need to provide foods and then third bracket this. So it will be accessing the individual items. So this is another way of using this for loop of to access the individual items stored in a list. So there will be multiple programs in which we will be doing this. I mean applying some ways of accessing the individual items in a list. Okay. So let's write one code. So write a program to make an attendance recording system. So the attendance recording system will be taking the individual roll numbers as input, the attendance for each day as input, and the attendance for each day will be consisting of date and the attendance for each of the roll numbers. Okay. So the steps that we need to take are the following. First, we need to take all the roll numbers. Now we're going to store all the roll numbers. So just let's try to write that. So I need to take all the roll numbers. So first of all, so let's write a complete code. Let's just go a little bit deep. Yeah. So say n equals to now here I'm not actually confusing you again. Let's just typecast it already. I mean, it's pretty obvious by now that we should be, I mean, as this is supposed to be an integer, we should be using this int function, right? Now, what I need to do is I need to take all the roll numbers. So first of all, I need to take all the roll numbers and I need to store them in a list. So let's declare a list which will be an empty list, right? Now I need to take all the roll numbers one after the other. Okay, so for I in range say n, say r equals to, okay, so the roll numbers can also contain some string values as well, like our roll numbers at IZAR Kolkata. So let's not consider doing this int here, right? What we need to do is just use the input function. Enter the roll. Now what I need to do is I need to dot append r. Now if I execute this, say let's say we have say 5 students. Enter the roll number, say Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5. Now if I print rolls, we will be getting this list. Now in this case, where I am taking the individual roll numbers as input from the user. So of course, as we have seen earlier, we can actually, given the here, we can actually generate the corresponding roll numbers. For the time being, let's just consider this. We can of course generate the individual roll numbers, and I actually asked you to try how to append the first two zeros, because all the roll numbers will be having 3 characters, right? So so basically those of you, those of you having a roll number 1, either in IP or in RS, your roll number is 21 MS 001, 21 IP 001, right? So using this a simple range, it will be only returning 1. How to convert it to 001? So please try that at your end. I mean, of course, you can consider taking help from the internet. Okay, now coming back to our programming problem. So given for all these roll numbers, what I need to do is I need to take the attendance, right? So this thing will be basically constant, right? The roll numbers will not be changing, right? After the commencement or after your admission in any institution, your roll number remains the same, right? Now what we have done is, so far we have taken the roll number, or we have actually initialized a list containing all the valid roll numbers. Now what we need to do is we need to take the attendance for each day, right? Whether a student with roll number R is present or not. Now what we need to do, we need to first take the day as input. So D equals to input, enter the day, enter the date basically. Enter the date. So this thing, I mean, we will be taking some date, and of course we can specify some mechanism or some way of kind of I mean giving the input, like say dd mm yy or any other. We can specify that as well. Let's just specify this. Note that I am not checking in this program. I will not be checking whether he had given a roll number or date in this format or not. But with our assignment problems, we actually know, given one date, how can we actually verify whether he had given a valid date or not, right? So now what we need to do is we need to check. So let's just, as we are doing, let's say I'm giving one date, say in this format. So enter the date, say I'm giving today's date, 22nd September 2021, right? Now, given this, can we validate whether the user had given a valid date or not using the program that we have written in the assignment? Of course we can do. Basically, the program statement that I have provided in the assignment problem, I have stated that you need to take the date as input in the format first date or first year, then month, then the date, right? From this, can we actually extract them individually? Can someone say how to access them individually? It's
Using
pretty
split
easy.
function.
Using split function, absolutely correct. So let's just declare a DA, and then, so let's just declare this as date. And then basically DL, which will be basically indicating, so let's just declare date L underscore L, which is just, I'm naming that I'll be making one list. So underscore L, I'm specifying to indicate that it's a list. It's for my convenience. I mean, usually what I do is, if I'm declaring one list having the same name, I usually prefer giving this underscore L. So as there is already a variable named date, that's why I'm specifying date underscore L, which will be indicating that this date will be a list. If it is a dictionary, I'll be providing date underscore D or something similar. Okay. Now what I'll be doing is I'll be using the split function with this slash, this front slash, right? Now, oops, sorry, it is not. Okay, sorry. 22nd September 2021. You can see date is a basically a string. It is providing, yeah, now it is so correctly. So now if I just print date underscore L, date was a string, as you can see enclosed in this quote. Now this date underscore L has become a list, and the individual items in the list is basically 2209 and 2021, right? Now if I want to extract individually these items, let's say I want to access the DD, which is the date. I just need to provide date underscore L 0 which will be basically date underscore L 1, and YYYY, another variable, date underscore L 2. And if I print dd comma comma YYYY, basically these variables, as you can see, I'm getting them as it is. So this is basically an extension of the code or the way we have written the code in the assignment, where we have taken the input in this format, individually dd, mm, yy. But here I am taking the date together in a single input statement, using a single input statement.
Sir, you have to typecast DDMM YYY as well, right?
Correct. So while computing, so all of them, all of these dd, mm, and yyyy are at present, they are all of type string. But as we have written the code for the assignment, all of them were treated as integers. So that's why we need to actually typecast them into integers before applying our code. Note that, before applying our code. So thanks a lot. You are absolutely correct. We need to typecast them in integer. Then only we will be able to kind of validate the input date, whether it is a valid date or not. Now coming back to our question. So for some date, enter the date. We need to take the individual attendance as input. Now what we need to do is, again, we need to run a similar thing like for I in range. Now we have this roles, and if and in this case we know the length of this roles will be n, right? Because that's how the roles has been initialized. So we can use this, and we need to take the attendance, say a equals to input okay. So another thing is, so now what we need to do is, so basically first of all let's just copy it, have it in another cell. It will be saving us some time while. So now if I just print the roles I, as we have seen, it will be printing the individual roll numbers. Now on this date, I need to take the input whether on this date Q1 was present or not. On this date, whether Q2 was present or not, right? So to do that, let's say A equals to input. Now there will be a little bit of problem. I'll be discussing that later. Sorry. Now, if I provide this, it will be giving an error, because input is actually, if it is one parameter, so basically this is not actually a possible valid parameter here. So what I need to do is, I need to provide Q1 present, yes or no, Q2 present, yes or no. So
Sir, hello.
Yes.
Yes. So we can take actually binary input here.
Of course, we can take binary input.
So either 0 or 1, that is, if 0 is
correct, you are absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. What I want to do is, I need to consider printing this Q1 present, Q2 present, Q3 present. Like similarly, the way we used to, we used to handle the situation while in a normal class. We used to call the individual candidates in a class by their roll numbers, right? Roll number 1 present, roll number 2 absent, roll number 3 present, such like that. So here this is not the correct way of doing that. Now can someone say how we can print something like that? Q1 present, Q2 present, something like that, using the string formatting that we have discussed already. We actually have discussed this. So here the problem is, it is, the input function here is actually considered I mean, so here this is actually considering two string parameters as input, but input will be taking one string. There can be actually, I mean, basically that's exactly the problem. So we need to make this as a single string. So can someone say how to do that using the string formatting that we have discussed? Anyone? Please at least try. I mean, how can we do that using string formatting? You remember string formatting, right? So using this, one way of doing this is using this, then format. You have remembered that, right? Anyone? Yeah, please respond. What will be this? Q1 present. So this is again the placeholder here. So this is being replaced by this. So again, so as we are saying, it will be binary. So it will be either 0 or 1. So what we can do is we can also provide that here. So let's, for the time being, let's consider 1 is present and 0 is absent, or say y is present and n is absent. Okay, so let's just consider 1 as present, q2 say absent, q3 say present, q4 say present, q5 say absent. Now in this code, what I'm doing is I'm taking the input, but these inputs are never being stored somewhere in a methodical way, right? Because every time the presence is being taken in the same variable. So as soon as I am giving this 0, the information regarding the first student has been lost. So we need to actually take them. I mean, we need to actually store them as well. And the point is, we need to have this with a, I mean, we need to have stored this information together with this individual date. So there should be a one-to-one correspondence. That is, for each date, we should be having 5 values. In this case, 5, because there are 5 students. So in this date, say 22nd of September 2021, the attendance is 10110. For the second date, or say 23rd of September, it will be say something else. So we need to store this together with this. What we need to do is, so basically say att, let's declare another list, att, empty list, att dot append. So let's keep this way, att dot append, then a, right? Then after this, so if I just do that, say present, absent, present, present, absent. Now if I print att, you can see this. So together with this, what we need to do is we need to store the date as well. So what we can do is we can actually put the date here as well. So basically the first value will be the date that we are storing here. So what we can do, a simple way is using the append here as well, append date. Present, absent, present, present, absent. Now if I print it, you can see now this att function, att list is containing 6 items. First item is the date, and from second onward to up to the last item is containing the attendance value for individual students, right? Now let's just keep this above this and keep this together, right? And before that, I hope you are understanding the things that I'm doing here. Sorry. So here, what I'm doing is I have initialized the ATT to null, right? Null list or empty list. Now, this should be deleted. Now, what I'm doing is now I am executing it. Enter the date, say 22nd of September 2021. Key1 present on this day. Say present, absent, present, absent. I have given one erroneous input here, which we can rectify later as well. Now, if I access this, you can see this item. Now, again, I am executing this. So let's say for tomorrow, Q1 say absent, Q2 say present, say absent, present, present. Now, this list, as you can see, is containing, oh, actually there is one problem. So we need to provide this as a list. Okay. So what we need to do is basically declare the, I mean, we should not be having this. We should be having, say, another attendance for a day. Finally, what we need to do is this attendance, which is a master sheet. You can see this ATT is a master sheet. We should be appending that with this. Now again, I'm reinitializing that. Enter the day, say 22nd of September 2021. Present, absent, present, present, present. Again, I'm executing, say 23rd of September 2021. Say absent, present, absent, present, absent. Now, if I print this, the master sheet, as you can see, there are two items. The first item is the information for one date. The second item is for another date. Now, there is a one-to-one correspondence of this with this or this role. Any question on this? So in this way, basically, we are using this nested loop to make a attendance recording system, right?